Okay, we're live.
Well, hello, everybody. We're live. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
We are, as probably a lot of people watching we're in snowy and very cold Colorado. It's like, when I went outside last, it was like 3 degrees out. I think it probably has warmed up since then, maybe.
I'm jealous. It's hot here over in the office. I got the sun pouring in on me and got the heater on. I know, I just did. I went out there and turned it down.
Well, we're here for our weekly update, and I think each of us are going to give a little bit of a update on a topic, and then if people have questions, we're going to address those in the comments. So, Ryland, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Sure, yeah. So since it's the new year, I thought I would talk about what happened in the last year. Also, NPR put together this story about the million missing immigrant workers and the effect that has had on the economy in the past year. So, as I'm sure a lot of our U.S. listeners are aware, the U.S. economy has been fluctuating a lot with the pandemic and with inflation and with the supply shortages and all the issues that have been affecting the supply chain. And there are currently 11 million open jobs in the United States, just jobs waiting to be filled. And while a lot of that is attributed to the pandemic, NPR was talking about how there's not enough attention being placed on how many immigrants have not been able to enter the United States and take some of those jobs as well. So because of the pandemic and because of still lingering effects of the cuts to legal immigration that the Trump administration has put in place, and some have been retracted and some have been reinstated and some have been strengthened, but there are apparently 1 million fewer immigrants in the United States than we would expect in 2021. And so that has been part of the reason why the U.S. economy has been suffering from issues with the supply chain and issues with inflation, at least according to this article. And because some of the industries that immigrants are most able to help in are food services, healthcare services, both of which have 1 million open jobs, trucking and warehouse industries. 1 in 5 trucking and warehouse employees is an immigrant. So with fewer immigrants being in the United States, that's just going to cause a butterfly effect that affects the entire U.S. economy. And there's bigger issues as we look into the future with what this could potentially be causing in our future. So the U.S. population in 2021 grew by the lowest amount since the country was founded. It grew by 0.1%. And childbirths have been steadily declining in the United States, even before the pandemic began. Between 2000 and 2019, there was a decline of almost half a percentage point in childbirths each year. And between 2010 and 2019, it was almost a full percentage point of declines in childbirths. So we've seen other countries that have been struggling with populations that have been growing older and people not being able to fill the positions that need to be filled, and it becoming kind of a crisis in countries that are further along in this process than we are, such as in Japan. And just last November in Japan, they've had a history of being very strict and stringent on immigration policies, and they've actually begun reevaluating those immigration policies. And in November, they decided to allow certain blue-collar immigrant positions to remain in Japan indefinitely. These are agricultural workers. These are workers in healthcare industry as well. But Japan has realized that they need to do something about this, and immigration is the solution. We cannot, for I mean, U.S. citizens are having children later, and just fewer children in general, and so we cannot hope that we're going to just bounce back and suddenly start making more babies. So immigration is a potential solution to this, not just in terms of the immediate economic impact that it's having, this million absent immigrant workers, but in the future, the potential problems that we see affecting Japan and will potentially be facing ourselves. So just wanted to talk about that at the beginning of the new year. Hopefully, we can start making some differences and getting more people in the U.S. to try to curb these potential future issues.
That's very, very interesting. Did you see when you were reading up on this, Ryland, were those workers in Japan? Were they in Japan and out of status, or did that mean that they're bringing in new immigrants? Or
so it wasn't specific what they were doing is they used to have very strict term limits on how long a person could be in Japan when they've entered to do these types of positions, and so now they've allowed it so that the petition can be renewed indefinitely as the demand exists. So it's similar to our H-2B programs, where we have people into the United States to do temporary work. But I believe that the Japanese system was much more strict on you can only do it for a certain amount of time, and once you do that, you cannot renew it and you must leave, which is still in the H-2B program in the United States, but I imagine it's much more strict in Japan. I don't know that for certain. That's my understanding of it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, I've never heard anybody have a coherent strategy for population aging and growth that doesn't involve immigration. So I've heard some politicians just encourage people to have more babies, but I don't think people are going to take their family planning advice from random politicians too often.
I mean, the Pope is just out there shooting his shot, trying to get people to have more children too, right?
I saw that. All right, Jennifer, what do you have?
I have a lot to say about all that, but we'll call me. We can talk about it. So I think we've already announced this before, but AILA, who is the American Immigration Lawyers Association, just put out a nice little flyer that kind of summarizes the new policy on U visas from U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So I thought I would go back over that for anyone who's missed that and kind of, clean up any misunderstandings there. So U visas are a type of visa that are available to victims of crimes in the United States. There's certain qualifying crimes or similar crimes that can qualify you for a U visa. And previously, the way USCIS was adjudicating these is people were just waiting for years and years and years. And so in June 2021, because of these long backlogs, USCIS decided to change their process. And we're hoping that this is going to speed things up. It's still kind of new, so we aren't sure exactly how much it's going to speed things up. But now they have what's called a bona fide determination process, or BFD process. And so what they're doing is they're going through, or they're supposed to be going through, every U visa petition to see if it meets certain basic requirements. And so they're not approving these petitions, but they're saying, okay, you meet these basic requirements, we're going to give you this bona fide determination. And what that's doing is granting what's called deferred action and allowing people to get work authorization, which goes into Ryland's topic. And I think it's going to go into what Aaron's also talking about, just economy, employment, important. And so this is allowing people to get employment authorization faster. So keeping all that in mind, what USCIS is saying is that once they decide that the U visa petition is bona fide, they will grant the deferred action and the person will get work authorization for 4 years. Qualifying family members are also eligible for this. And if you have a U visa petition pending and you haven't already filed an application for work authorization, the form I-765, it's okay. You don't need to do anything. USCIS is going to send out notices in any cases where an I-765 needs to be filed, requesting that form be submitted, and they don't want people to enter file. And so, yeah, that's the big thing on that. It's exciting. People can get work permits. And then, you will get a notice from USCIS when your case has a bona fide determination, and then you'll either be issued work authorization or you will be issued a notice requesting that you submit an application for work authorization. I'm still not exactly sure how this is working, and maybe Aaron or Rylan can help with Social Security cards. I know we've had a few cases where the U visa petition and the employment authorization application were filed many years ago, sometimes by another attorney's office or by a different attorney, and the form for the work authorization did not used to have a box saying, I want you to give me a Social Security number and a Social Security card. The form was changed a couple of years ago, and now you can do that. You don't have to go separately to the Social Security office, but there are still people on that other form that I think are going to have to go to the Social Security office. And maybe you guys have had some experience with that too. But
I know that we've had clients that have entered on L status, which is a managerial executive position, and so it's inherently a position that is supposed to be work authorized, and they bring along their spouses as well, and their spouse is supposed to be able to get work authorization themselves, and so but there wasn't the opportunity to mark that we were looking for a Social Security card for them, especially now guidance has recently changed for spouses not to have to apply for an EAD. So we have just had to advise clients to go to the local Social Security office, just like you were saying, and provide that proof of their status that indicates that they are authorized to work in the United States, which, with you having that bona fide U visa status, but it's not granted yet. I'm not sure how that would work. Yeah. But hopefully there would be some guidance issued by USCIS.
And have we seen either to our office or to that we've heard of from other offices, have we seen these bona fide determinations start coming in? Is it a trickle? Are they really starting to come in faster? Where are we on that?
I've had a few. I'm trying to remember when my last one was, and what year it was filed.
Are they for U visa cases that were filed a long time ago, or are they for newer ones?
A long time ago. So this one looks like it was filed in 2016, and we just got the bona fide determination, I think, in like November. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, like Jennifer was saying, it's kind of hard to know what to expect as far as the rollout, because there are just so many pending applications that I don't know what order they're going to go through or how long it's going to take them to go through all these and issue these. I just have no concept. And the other thing that I'm not sure about is for new applications, are they just going to do it basically right away and then on a parallel track do the catch up on the older cases, or are they going to try to do it in order of filing? I think those are, as far as I know, we don't have answers to those kind of questions.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I know that USCIS has changed. You used to be able to check the status or like the processing times for things on the website. And for U visa specifically, they're not even posting processing times anymore. They're saying, hey, we have this new process, just wait. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Which related to that, this is kind of unrelated, but related. I did see the USCIS website. They're saying they're using 6 months of data now on the estimated processing times. And I think they were like using a shorter, I don't know, they were using a different time frame before. But
okay. Well, speaking of timeframes for processing, our next thing is going to be about expedites for EADs. That's in employment authorization documents for healthcare workers. I guess to start, we'll put it in context. When you file an employment authorization document request or application, it used to be years back that the agency was supposed to adjudicate it within 90 days. So 3 months, which makes sense because they take about 12 minutes according to DHS to adjudicate. So giving them 3 months to do it sounds more than reasonable. Well, they did away with that requirement and then just promised that they would continue to do their best to still stick to that time frame, even if it wasn't a requirement. And things have gotten out of control. And so EADs are taking routinely over 6 months, often over 12 months, sometimes up to 20 months for these simple cases. And lots of people are suffering in the interim. They can't get jobs, they're losing their jobs, they can't work, they can't support themselves, they can't support their family. So it's a disaster for lots of people. And we, through the impact group, have a lawsuit about this issue for adjustment applicants. So while it's impacting a ton of people, one really acute impacted population that people were up in arms about was healthcare workers, because people were healthcare workers with EAD, working on treating people with COVID, working on all kinds of issues in our struggling healthcare system, and they had these renewal applications that were pending, and they were expiring without getting their new cards, and they were having to stop working. And that seems like kind of the last thing we can afford right now, is just to not let qualified healthcare professionals work just because our agency can't process applications in a timely manner. So people started raising this issue, and USCIS, to their credit, was responsive to this one issue, and they created a new process. And it's especially for expediting EADs for healthcare workers. So anybody in any category can request an expedite for certain reasons, but as a practical matter, they're not granted very often, even where it's a really compelling reason. But for these, they should be. And the process is as follows. If you're a healthcare worker and your EAD is expired or will expire within 30 days, you can call USCIS, have your receipt number ready, and they will ask for evidence that you're a healthcare worker. I'm actually not sure how they're wanting you to submit it, if they, exactly how they're accepting it, but they'll ask you for the evidence that you're a healthcare professional, and you submit it. And as long as they're satisfied with it, then they should expedite the production of your new card. This is very new. So we're not sure how it plays out, but at least there's something there to avoid this problem for this one population. And it doesn't matter which category your EAD is under. What matters is that you are working as a healthcare professional.
Related to that, I'm also actually currently looking into whether, for example, if you lose your work permit and you have to file for a replacement, and your work is asking you for your authorization, whether that can qualify for expedite under the same policy too. So hopefully we'll have some updates on that soon. It's not explicitly covered, but I think
Did you hear that little weird sound there?
Yeah. Heard something.
I think there was a small animal attacking one of the microphones there or something. So I think it looks like we have a question before we sign off that we can get to.
One second, Aaron.
Oh, go ahead.
You jump ahead. I just wanted to look and see if there was any specific things that they were looking for as evidence for healthcare workers. From what I'm seeing from the USCIS announcement, it just says be prepared to provide evidence of your profession or current employment as a healthcare worker. So pay stubs, I don't know, ID cards, I don't know what you would provide. It doesn't seem like they have more specifics than that. They might somewhere, but that's just my brief research into it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I saw as well. So I don't know either. Hopefully they're more forthcoming over the phone with what they want to see.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have a question from Ronald. He's asking if there's any communication about Go, if they want to continue the appeal.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Go v. Blinken is the diversity visa 2021 lawsuit that we are litigating. The district court ruled in our favor and ordered the Department of State to issue 481 visas beyond the statutory deadline, so beyond the fiscal year of 2021. And they have until the end of this fiscal year, so that's September 30th, 2022, to issue the 481 visas to our plaintiffs. The government, after that order, issued or submitted a notice of appeal, indicating that they're interested in appealing the district court's order. We filed a cross appeal, and the thought was, well, if they're going to appeal this and it's going to go to the DC circuit, then we might as well argue for more visas. that the judge erred in his calculations and that he should have ordered more than 481 visas. But if they were not going to appeal, we were not going to appeal either, because if it's not going to be before the circuit court anyway, we don't want to risk the good decision that we got from the district court. So the status of the case right now is the government asked for an extension of some deadlines that it had to file some documents to the circuit court. It wasn't a brief or anything like that. It's more preliminary, but they asked for a deadline. And the reason that they needed an extension was they are seeing if they have permission from the higher ups to proceed with this appeal. Apparently they don't have permission yet. And we opposed them getting extra time. And they went ahead and asked for it anyway, and they haven't had a decision, but they do get an automatic extension while their motion is pending, and so we're waiting on that. One unrelated but somewhat possibly related piece of news is that they withdrew a notice of appeal in a case for a challenge regarding EB5 adjudications. And if you want to be an optimist, it could be that maybe the Solicitor General's office is not interested in certain immigration-related appeals, and maybe this one's going to fall within that too. Maybe they're going to decide not to proceed with the appeal, which would be wonderful. However, we don't know yet, and we should know in the coming weeks.
So, Andre was just asking a follow-up that I think you pretty much just answered. First, he said, "Good day, gentlemen." And then he asked, how much time will it take before the court decides on the government's motion of extension of time to appeal?
Hello to you as well, Andre. Happy New Year. Hope that you're well. They don't have a deadline. The court can take it. This is a really strange rule. It's a rule that's in the DC circuit, and it's strange to me because you can actually get a lot more time, in theory, of an extension, even if the court ultimately denies your motion for an extension. So I'll give an example. So let's say the party asking for the extension asked for an additional week, 1 week extra, and the other party didn't agree, and then it went to the court. Well, the court doesn't have a deadline to decide the motion. And what the rule says is it's automatically extended while the court considers it. And then if the court denies the motion for an extension, then the new deadline is set for 7 days from the denial. So if they had asked for a week and then the court doesn't decide for 3 weeks and then denies it and says, no, there's no good cause for an extension, they're actually in practice going to get 4 weeks. So it's really a permissive rule and quite easy to game from the party that's seeking delay. We did not want to agree to delay because our plaintiffs have already waited a long time for resolution on this, and we don't want to wait any longer than possible. But this rule is really strange, and that all was a very long way, Andre, of saying that there is no timeline for when the Court of Appeals will make a decision on the motion for extension of time. But it shouldn't be long. It's not an extensive motion, or they don't need to consider a bunch of legal argument. They should be able to do it shortly, I would think.
He says, "Thank you and Happy New Year to all of us." Happy New Year to you, Andre.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Nope. That was it.
Excellent. Well, it's good to be back here in the new year. I hope that everybody is staying healthy, staying safe during these strange, crazy times with the Omicron, and we will be back next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.